Inclusivity and Diversity Committee to do today's webinar. We have special guests today, the leadership from the Greater Alexandra Tourism and Heritage Association, as well as the leadership of Satsa's Aid Committee, Pagamile Dludlahlazo, as well as Rob Heatham. I'm going to ask each panelist to introduce themselves briefly. And I'm going to start with Mr. Paul Maluleka. Hello, Paul, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be part of this webinar. And yeah, like yesterday when I went to bed, I couldn't believe that we're going through this. So we're talking with Smart and saying that, you know what, yeah, Alex is a great opportunity. So my name is Paul Maluleke. I'm currently the CEO and the communications of GATA. And then I'm one of the co-founders and the director. And then also I play like different roles to ensure that we have a sustainable local tourism association. And then I was born and brought up in Alex, and then I'm the second generation from my granddad. So my participation within the tourism industry is because of I am continuing with Maluleke legacy. My granddad came around to Alex around 1930s, and then you can just imagine since then and now what's happening. But yes, let me give Smadi a chance to introduce himself so that we can get down to business. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, Samadi. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Afternoon. My name is Samadi Ngoya Manganye. I am born and bred from Alexandra. I'm the co-founder of the Greater Alexandra Tourism and Heritage Association, and also the head of the MICE cluster. That's one of the clusters that's found within the association. I have a business called The Hub Presents, which I deal to tour operating from. I've got specific, like a variety of tours that I've got. The trademark is the Extreme Route, which is something that I'm going to speak about later on. And I'm excited. Yeah, Alexandra's been waiting for these type of opportunities, and I'm glad that we're the ones who are ready and willing to receive these. More will be explained with as the meeting goes on. Thank you.
Continue.
Did you hear me?
We can hear you. I think, Mandy, you might be on mute there.
Mandy should have given us a bit of a disclaimer that she's working with Eastern Cape Connectivity.
Introduce yourself, please. Thank you.
Mandy, should I go ahead and introduce myself? Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Please do, Paga. Thank you.
Thanks, Mandy. My name is Pagamile Dludlahlazo, as Mandy has introduced me, and I am the founder of a social enterprise called Zulu Nomad. Some people may be familiar with Zulu Nomad, being a tour operator over a number of years since 2016. And really, we realized that we have quite a big role to play in terms of tourism capacity development in South Africa and in the different African countries that we're traveling through. And so I'm really, really excited to get to meet and hear about the developments in Alex today. I have bumped into Paul in a couple of conferences, but really haven't had an opportunity to engage. So I'm really, really excited to learn more about what's happening in Alex today. And then obviously I am the co-chair of the Satsa Aid Committee, looking after access, inclusivity and diversity in South Africa's tourism industry. Really happy to be here today.
Fantastic, thank you, Paga. Rob, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mandisa. Good day, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us here. I'm very, very excited to be able to be a part of the panel today. My name is Rob Heatham. I'm based in Wilderness on the southern coast of South Africa in the beautiful Garden Route, and I'm the vice chair of the board for Satsa, and also a patron and champion with Paka of the AID committee. So I'm very excited to see the panelists here today, and I'm looking forward to them sharing what opportunities are available for us going forward. So yeah, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for having me here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rob. So now we're going to hear from Paul and Samadi, who lead the Greater Alexandra Tourism and Heritage Association. And as they're speaking, please, you're welcome to put your questions through on the chat. We will be sharing those, and so that everybody on the panel can answer them, and you can direct it to any of our panelists. And before I cross over to Paul and Samadi, I'd just like to give a brief history of Satsa's aid committee. Originally from 2017 at the Satsa conference, which I think took place here in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape, priority for Satsa. So much so in Satsa's memorandum of incorporation 2017, it was made known that it was made known that it will be a priority for Satsa to highlight the issues of the industry to the South African authorities, as well as facilitate development of emerging entrepreneurs within the industry in order to qualify for Satsa membership. And this is pretty much the road that Gatha has been on, being helped in development by certain members within Satsa. And this is what we also hope and aspire for other tourism forums and tourism businesses around South Africa, so that they can gain greater access to the market. And so with that in mind, this is our first webinar to start doing that, to really give practical advice how this industry can become more inclusive, more diverse, by giving access to township and rural businesses as well as entrepreneurs. I'd like to welcome our panelist, Braopa Pilane, onto the webinar. Braopa had some connectivity issues. He's now joined us. Braopa, would you like to introduce yourself can you please introduce yourself before I allow Paul and Samadi to do their presentation?
Hi, thank you so much, and my apologies, we're just struggling with connectivity here, but yeah, so we're staying far away from the technology. My name is Opa Pilane, and I'm the current co-chair of Satsa nationally, and I'm involved with tourism on the attraction side of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Braopa. Would Paul Samadi please introduce us to Greater Alexandra Tourism and Heritage Association?
Okay, thank you. Samadi?
Okay, I'll give you a brief background of myself and myself in the tourism space. So as I said, my name is Samadi Ngwenyamanganye. I am the co-founder of the Greater Alexandra Tourism and Heritage Association, and also the head of the MICE cluster, that is a cluster that's found within the association, one of the structures. My business is called The Hub Presents, which is a tour operator, and we just have unique tours. Like, it's all we're trying to do is to sell Alexandra from the cleanest perspective ever, and not do your old school, your tourism tours. We do 100% tourism. I think I've made my name in the industry as being Mr. Tourism and not Mr. Tourism, because all I've been trying to do this whole time is just cleaning up the image of Alexandra, which is something that the association is assisting us to do. So I'm from a business background of construction, logistics, cleaning, and I've got the knowledge of the IT sector, and also in energy. I've got a growing knowledge of that's coming through. When I started out, there was no association in Alexandra that was representing like the local businesses and the entrepreneurs that had initiatives which would bring drastic change, especially with the cleaning up of the image of Alexandra. So there was nothing in existence. It was just private businesses working in their silos, all looking for the same things, all had the same challenges, all had some solutions, but they're all voicing the solutions at the same places. Let's say, like one of the big solutions we have in the township is the stigma behind it, of the crime and the dirt, the filth, the environment. So as one business, it's not easy to complete these tasks and to fix these type of things in order to change the name of the tourism platform in the township. But as a unit, which is where the association came into play, when I met Paul and the other co-founders, that's where we came down and we sat down with all our specialities and with all our differences. We set all our differences aside and we told ourselves that we're doing this in order to better our community, Alexandra, which in the whole of SA, and I think the whole world, when that name is mentioned, there's one thing that jumps into the mind. Whoa, that's all that comes to the mind. Whoa, we want to change all that stuff. We've been changing all that stuff. With the type of partnership that we've been having with local government, provincial government, and also private sector, and the programs that they've put us in, like example, the partnership we have with Gauteng Tourism Authority, when we were introduced to the likes of the Satsas of the world, there was a training that we went to in 2015, and I've got the certificate here, in order to prove it. This is where I met Paul, and the trainer was Gogolin, and God bless her soul, because she's the lady that she opened up my tourism eye, and I started seeing what we could do as Alexandrians to actually sell our space in a better way so that we can attract local tourists and internationals at the same time. But the main job was cleaning up the image and redirecting this traffic to this clean image, which we have made through the platform called The Hub Presents, which is a platform that showcases all artists, their work, business people, entrepreneurs on the platform. And it's the type of people who are looking for market access. And with the type of partnerships that we formed with the association, when we formalized it in 2016, we made a platform whereby now all these people can be heard. They can be heard, they can be seen. If you want to book them and you want them in your own space, you can call them out. So we've made the bridge between the client and the products. We just like the mediators in the middle who are just cleaning up the image and making sure the whole transaction goes well, which is the type of relationship that we built with a few members of the local tourism authorities and also tourism bodies. Example, like Rob is on the group now. He's one of the biggest, the change makers in my life, basically, when it comes to the tourism game, because he acted like a father figure and a mentor at the same time. There's a brief history that we have with Rob. He worked with my parents before he worked with me, but then I knew nothing of this. We found out along the way that, hey, the journey that he started with my parents is a journey that I'm finishing off with them in the cleaning up and the growing of the Alexandra economy and making the people be the custodians of everything that's happening and the beneficiaries of all the proceeds that come through this side. And I'm glad that I met Rob, because he's another man that I wonder, if it wasn't for him, I think the tourism, the landscape in Alexandra wouldn't be the way it is right now. With the association open, we managed to open the white elephants that are found in the township, which are like the key basic things that we're meant to do as leaders in the community. Look for white elephants which have unique selling points. Find them, clean them up, open them up, package them, and sell them. Get the market ready for you guys so that your guys are ready for the market, and vice versa. You get what I'm saying? So we are recording live from the Alexandra Heritage Center, which is a center that has been closed for the longest of time in Alex, but then with the power of the association and the partnership with the city of Joburg and the Friends of the museum is open. Why? Because it was not silo work that we did, it was group work with one vision, the betterment and the improvement of the living conditions of businesses and individuals within our community, giving them opportunities to also assist and to showcase their talent so that we can improve our community together holistically. With the different partners that we have, which are the likes of the Joburg tourisms that I said, the Gauteng tourism authorities, SA tourism, and thank you guys for taking us to the tourism in Dabas and making us the hidden gems and industry disruptors. We've got the likes of the Stanton Tourism and Businesses Association, who have helped us, who funded us to actually go to the last WTM that was hosted. Stanton Tourism and Business Association, we thank you for that. So what I'm trying to get to is, as an association and as the leadership in associations, each individual has to have roles and responsibilities. Those roles and responsibilities should have a feedback system. That feedback system should have planning and execution after that. This is what we've been doing with GATA the whole time. We've been thinking, we've been planning. After planning, we create. And when we create, we always find out that there is always someone out there who's listening and wants more, which give us that, it inspires us to actually want to do more, which is why we are here today. We've always wanted to be the ones to be the first of its kind, the first to do it, the first to think of it, the first to implement, the first to pilot, and the first to share, which is the vision that we're going to live through and live with as an association. Why? Because we know that as a community, and all the all the other communities around the country, the challenges are different, but the solutions are similar. So if we can make a model that has the challenges sorted out in a way that the pilot project, when it gets to other rural areas or other townships, just has to be tweaked up just a little bit in order to make it work that side. That is exactly what we want to do as an association. We saw that the big players in the game have no space for the small fish, like my private business, the Hub presents, but then there is a voice for an association like the Greater Alexandra Tourism and Heritage Association. Why? Because there's a number of businesses under it represented by the association, and the association is just acting like the voice, which is what I think Satsa is the voice for their compliant and ready to do tourism businesses, which is what we're trying to now start in all townships, starting here in Alexandra, because we have to start with home ground first. And then slowly, once all the other townships and everyone gets more understanding of what we are trying to do, we pilot the project into other spaces, which is why I'm very happy that we're having this platform right now, because we're sharing with other leaders who are probably they're struggling and they're wondering, what's next? What should we do? Where do we start? My advice, the business not registered, start now. Register. If you don't have a plan, register it. The plan will come whilst you're going. At least have your paperwork right. Once the paperwork is right, that's when you start now talking to the right people. Talk to your local tourism authorities, your provincial tourism authorities, your national tourism authorities eventually, because inevitably, they're all looking for the same information. They all want to do the same thing. They all want to come into our spaces and help us and see how they can assist us. The private sector, the same thing. Find key partnerships that are going to assist you in growing and strengthening your ties within the industry. Make your voice be louder than your one business. The Hub Presents, as I said, is not loud enough as a business, but then as an association, I'm on a platform like this. I can speak to the masses. I can speak to all the relevant parties. They can hear us out at one go, unlike the tourism exhibitions and trade shows that we go to, which is meeting after meeting after meeting. Yes, we're growing relations, but it's individuals that we're speaking to who might not get the understanding 100% like we would get the understanding on this type of platform when everyone is here and everyone can ask, they can ask questions and they'll get answers. So in short, maybe to give Paul a little time, maybe to go through the structure on how we've structured the association, on why we've structured it like this, on why we started the association in the first place, and where we see the association in the next, let's say, the 5 years, because we've got a 10-year plan. And within the 10-year plan, this is exactly where we wanted to see ourselves. Yes, we're not making big bucks, but we are that step closer because the credibility is on the line. We are being trusted more by our partners and by the community at large. So in leaving that in short, I'll give it to Paul a bit, maybe to touch on some other points when it comes to organogram and the structuring of an association and why we need to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Smadi. Thanks so much. Yeah, our first slide on our presentation, it actually shows like the partnerships that we have or that we have established. This is just a cover letter. You can go to the next one. Number 2. Thank you. Yeah, yes, yeah, here is our partnerships. So what is important about any organization is a support system. So the first thing like in our mind was to create like a strong support system from the community level, the government, the private sector, and also ensure that we have like the individual support system. If you can see, we have like the likes of your Alex Museum, where we are currently seated. It's where our offices are based. And then there's a strong history and heritage that we also promote as an association. And then also the role that we play promoting Alexandra as a tourism destination to this kind of platforms. So most of these partnerships, what is important is authority. Authority meaning that we have authority to use their logos, they have authority to use our logo. So it's one of the things that we have learned over is that we mustn't cross lines or we mustn't like create like your conflict of interest. So we can go to the second slide so that I can explain the organogram. Yes, we thought of these 12 steps that they were easy for us to have like a sustainable local tourism association. So first thing, the mandate. Where did we get the mandate to establish the tourism association? Basically, Gauteng Tourism Authority, economic and Gauteng economic development, they actually gave us the mandate to establish the local tourism associations. In Gauteng, we are not the only association. We have our sister partner organization like Soweto Tourism, Ekurhuleni, Mamelodi, and other regions. They do have their own local tourism association. And then what is good is we work together again as the local tourism association. We have our own structures whereby we think they are part of like accountability and where we share like information based on our frustration, our success stories within like our different townships. And then our organogram, how it was structured, we have like your, mostly it's non-executive members, which means it's like just the board members, and there's us directors, the board members. And Smadi earlier on spoke about clusters. We do have like clusters, which is like at the end of the presentation, I will explain about our clusters. And then what was important after our organogram, because of the roles and responsibilities that we need to play as individuals, we must make sure that our constitution, we actually live to our constitution. And then I remember we did invite Satsa to our corporate governance workshop, and then our other partners, they were also part of the corporate governance, so that like they can understand or we can learn from each other. And then the compliance issue, it's obviously that currently compliance is forever a process. Like now we have new COVID-19 regulations, which is as local tourism businesses, we also need to make sure that we understand those compliance issues. And then within the tourism point of view, there must be somebody who is basically looking at compliance issues. Flora Mahlaba is our compliance manager. And then the business plan, it's obviously, as we are registered as a non-profit company, we must have like an element of revenue and then also an element of social services. So what was important for us to have a business plan, it was because of I think we actually prepared ourselves for times like this, like this COVID-19 pandemic. Why? Because I have explaining or presenting about our working relationships. City of Johannesburg, as part of our working relationship, they actually provided space for us to basically resume a business. We have an art store at museum whereby we're giving local artists an opportunity to create revenue. And then also from our side, we are trying by all means not to actually steal a business from our members. The business that is coming as tourists, we share amongst our members. But what is important is the association must create its own revenue. So currently we were basically like coming up with like project whereby we know that we will attract like investments, like the cleaning up of Joske, and then what you are proposing is to turn it into a tourism attraction. So these are some of the elements within like our business plan. So the membership, our membership, it was sort of like a challenge, because if you can realize, tourism, it's fairly new in our communities. And then most of our businesses, how they were established because of poverty. And then in terms of like support system from government, is something which is like we are trying to merge, or we are trying to ensure that the local tourism associations are recognized by these businesses, so that they can also get assistance. Because remember something, government is our policy makers. They also provide a certain support to us. And we also have your private sector, like your well-established institutions like Satsa, that can businesses in our community. Then when coming to like activities, we have like a lot of activities. We support like your local events. We do have our events, but we have targeted like national holidays, which is like everybody can come and share their experiences. And then we know that most of these events, they are not commercial. We fundraise on their behalf, or we fundraise together. We call other community-based organizations. We organize activities, and then we celebrate together. So this like we have a
I think we lost Paul. I think Paul's connection has gone there. I'm going to hand over to Hanneli de Toy, who is the COO of Satsa and a champion of Satsa Aid, one of the pioneers. And Hanneli is going to share with us how Satsa has been developing a program to work with the Greater Alexandra Tourism and Heritage Association. Rob, if you can please let Hanneli in.
Yeah, Mandisa, Hanneli's here. She was having some connectivity issues while I was chatting to her, but you can see her. She's on the panel now. I hope she'll be able to join us. If not, there is a bit of a brief. We may be able to bring her back later. But if she can't join us now, I'd just like to share something and say once again thank you to Paul and Samadhi for your very kind comments on my involvement. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you guys, and I'm extremely proud of the achievements that you have achieved. Hanneli was chatting to me earlier on today, and in line with Satsa's efforts to increase visibility and access for these kinds of communities, we've decided to put together, to ask Gata to put together a tour, which will be opened up to the members on this webinar today, as well as other members where each person can contribute to cover costs, but it'll be aimed at corporate team building. What we're trying to do is expose the products in Alex. We have had a number of different initiatives, but I think this is a really great time for us to jump on the back of this initiative and bring some more feet and eyes to the street in Alex. So what we'll be doing is we'll be bringing members of our organization and influencers, as well as the market, to be able to market to corporate companies, to come and see what they can use in Alex for the team building. I know that Paul and Samadi and their team have put together a very large interaction with an international group that came to them through one of the local DMCs, Tamrich. And I think, guys, it was what, 110 delegates over a 2 or 3 day period. So those are the kind of things that are possible in Alex. And it was an awesome time that was had by all. So yeah, we want to get corporate companies involved. I think this is the start of building those relationships. And then possibly after a year of people not being in the office, this will give us an absolutely awesome outcome of being able to get people together, but also do something good for the community as well. So that, unfortunately, Hanley couldn't bring that to you directly herself, but it's certainly something that she's been working on. And yeah, we're very pro the inclusivity to the grassroots level. I think that's critically important. Paul, you know my sentiments on that. We've got to empower the people, and you guys are doing a really great job. And thank you very much for sharing here today.
Thank you, Rob. Wow, that's very exciting. And this is what inclusivity really is all about. Big
I can't hear anyone. Maybe it's me.
Big organizations taking on small organizations and just walking the journey with them. And that is what Satsa Aid would like to achieve. Samadi, I have a question for you. Earlier on, you referred to organizations taking and businesses looking at the white elephants in their communities and turning those into something that will give people a reason to come and have tourism experiences in our townships. Can you give us an example of what it takes, like, to identify these white elephants, to create a product in a place that people usually, associate with negativity, and create a product that will attract people to come in and give them something to enjoy?
Okay. Thank you again, Mandisa. When it comes to white elephants in the community, believe me, there's a lot of them. I'll use the example that where I'm from. The business that I'm from, like the venue that I'm from, is called the Tourism Hub. The Tourism Hub was sponsored by the likes of the Southern Stars of the world, but it was put there for tourism purposes. Only to find out that the community wasn't really clued up on what tourism is about and what they should be doing in order to utilize the space in the right way. This is where myself and my partner, Sfiso Malocha, we came into play. We came into the space and we started operating our tourism services. And accompanied by that, we had events, lifestyle events, whereby we had our markets which showcased local artists, which had local offerings and unique selling points, because the type of people that we'll have there are people that used to work in the likes of the Santons and the Rosebanks and in the big hotels, and they know exactly that acquired taste that is required in order for a person to keep coming back for your offering. So within the space, what we did, we designed routes, our tourism routes, whereby we came up with the extreme route. In the extreme route, through the partnerships with our local business partners, we acquired electric scooters. With these electric scooters, they were a mode of transport to go to our no-go zones, which are go zones for us. You know what I'm saying? So, Alexandra, as I said before, the stigma behind it has really tarnished its name. And all we've been trying to do is to clean up that name, because all the things that have been heard about Alex, it's not like those things are still the same. Crime is everywhere. The filth is everywhere. We just have to come together as a community, with one mind and fix all these things up. So we came up with those type of tours. Those tours will take you to spaces that you would never go, your parents would never advise you to go to, but then we know because we've cleaned them up and we have other offerings within those spaces where you'll see that those spaces that are being spoken about in a bad way aren't really that bad, and they actually need support from domestic and international tourists and travelers, and also local community, the business people around who can see the added value of the people in those spaces. So what we need to do, you need to, number one, you find the white elephants. You need to partner up with the community, the local community. You need to partner up with the local tourism authorities. You need to find like-minded people within the community, because guys, it's hard. It's been a mission, like from the executives when we started, the numbers have been changing. They've been changing. Why? Because like-minded people will stay on the journey. The ones who aren't like-minded are the ones that will jump off and want to do something. So it's going to be challenging in order, like in the process of the getting the formalization of the organization. But once you get that, you need marketing platforms. You need market access. And market access is nothing that just one business can do for you. You need organizations. You need the Satsas of the world. You need the local tourism associations. You need the national tourism associations. You need the provincial also. We need each other. We need the private businesses. We need your friends. We need family. And we need word of mouth to go there. We need the social media to be ringing. Like each and every day, there should be some positive posts that are posted about that space that you're from, or a unique story about that space that you're from, or a person that's from around the space. There is something always unique about the space that you're from. You need to find that, work on it, break it down, and make it like a sweet. Make it irresistible for anyone to not want to eat it. Make it irresistible for anyone not to want to travel to come and buy it. You know what I'm saying? It's what we've been doing with Alexandra and the white elephants around the spaces. We get into the space, we clean them up, we get them market ready, and then we open them up for the community use. Like at the hub now, there's lifestyle markets that we run on a monthly basis. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we had to stop a bit, which has messed up lots of businesses because majority of them have closed up. But we're starting again now because we need to revive these businesses because we need to start working again. So yeah, the white elephants, work on them, but then as a team, don't fight within the teams. Come up with the type of things that will make the solutions, basically. We don't want problems. You mustn't come with problems. Come with solutions when it comes to the growth of your community. But the white elephants, they're always there. Find them, clean them, work them out, sell them.
Thank you, Samadi. That is some very valuable advice, because in every township, you will see those white elephants. I mean, here in Gqeberha, we have Nelson Mandela Peace Park, which had a very specific role to play in the community, but has not really fulfilled that and is an opportunity. And yes, while we can do all of things, and it's important to work together, I think having some minimal business training can really help those kind of collaborations along. And I'd like to call on Paga, who is the founder and CEO of Zulu Nomad and the vice chair of Satsa Aid Committee, to let us know about the opportunities that small businesses have through Satsa Aid and our partners, such as Zulu Nomad, to receive that training and possibly, invite other people interested in tourism to form these networks of like-minded people.
Thank you, Mandy. So, I mean, our webinar today just really, really excites me, because this is where the opportunity is for South African tourism. This is where the opportunity is for the African continent as a whole. I think, when we're sitting in our communities, when we're sitting in the township, when we're sitting in a village somewhere, it's almost as if our eyes are closed to opportunities and we're sort of waiting for someone else to come in and help us out, or the government must do this and this for us. And I think it's such a wonderful example that the team and Alex has set for all of us to say, guys, if we actually work together, if we come together, we then have an opportunity to really find tourism assets that are already existing around us that we then need to explore and clean up and exploit for tourism for the economic benefit of everybody involved. And I think absolutely, Mandy, one of the biggest gaps, and so as I've said, I mean, Zulu Nomad, we're traveling by road throughout South Africa, Mozambique, Zim, etc., etc. And in all of these countries, we're meeting with the most exceptional hosts, okay? People who are so hospitable, who give us amazing food, who share their culture with us, their music. And I always said, you know, it's such a pity that African people have not had the opportunity to travel. We don't know what tourism actually is. So there's still that education process, and I'm always going to mention this in our calls, that education process that needs to happen even with the market ourselves, because South Africans shouldn't have to be convinced to go to Alex. Do you understand? We have an executive, a very senior executive at MTN who's from Ivory Coast, and his favorite part of South Africa is Alex. He spends almost every weekend in Alex. I don't know what he's doing there, but I know he absolutely loves piano music, right? And so he's found his spots there, and he goes out there, and he's French. He's not even English speaking, and so, you know, I think there's education on both sides. There's education that needs to be done on the market ourselves as South Africans to say, hey, you know, we're a country that has all this freedom now to define ourselves anew and to define our spaces anew. What are we going to do about that? And what are the opportunities that are available to us all? And then from a business point of view, absolutely, Mandy, I think, you know, the points that both Smadi and Paul have raised are so critical, because a lot of the time as a small business owner, you're sort of just trying to do it all, and you're just swimming and you're paddling away, and you're the marketing person and you're the operations person, and you know, you're the customer service person, you're also the tour guide, you're everything, right? And there's no time to actually apply yourself and to the business and, you know, let me actually evaluate how things are going. And when we went into lockdown as Zulu Nomad, I mean, that was one of the opportunities that we recognized was something that we could potentially give back to the South African tourism community, to say to people that we knew personally, that we've worked with over the years, who are sitting with exceptional tourism product that is just not reaching the potential that it could be, because the business is managed a certain way. So we created training programs that people could take during lockdown, while you actually have this time to pause, look at how you've been running your business up to this stage, and then consider, okay, what does the future actually look like? Where are the opportunities? Where are my own gaps, right? The training is available online. The training is free. And the idea really is for us to start looking at innovative ways of sharing information. And this is one of them as well, through these webinars. The information that has been shared today is invaluable. The fact that somebody can tell you, okay, so from where you are currently as an entrepreneur, find your local tourism authority, you know, and find partners and get involved in the industry and speak to people and ask questions. And so absolutely, Mandy, we're very, very excited at the tangible programs that we've put in our business plan as Satsa Aid for the year. And these do cover training programs in partnership with existing, you know, women in tourism programs, for example, that has been running for several years, where Satsa's contribution in that program is actually mentorship, right? Because another gap that we usually especially as a business owner, it's one thing to give me all this theory and then I leave the classroom and I'm back in my business and I'm paddling away again, right? Versus actually having someone who's going to be there as a sounding board, someone who's going to handhold and support. Oh, this and this is falling apart. Oh, you know, when I planned this and I thought it was going to work, it hasn't worked. What do I do now? You know, so we're very excited at having Satsa members who want to aid and who want to help with the transformation of the tourism industry in South Africa. And there are many, you know, and we are creating mentorship programs where these very highly experienced business owners can start adding value to smaller business owners in an environment that is suitable for both, right? So it is training, business training, but it's also mentorship and coaching. And then accountability. So I think one of the challenges we have is that they've been so many programs, right? And a lot of the time people start feeling discouraged because you don't actually see what the outcomes of these programs are. And we would like to commit, as part of our business plan as Satsa Aid, we are putting forth specific targets that we want to meet in terms of business owners that have been trained and then gone through the mentorship programs, and then start tracking things like how many people are actually going and consuming the tourism product that has been introduced. How many times are these people going back to this experience? How is the business actually doing from needing additional staff? As you grow, we anticipate that you're going to be hiring more people, and that's us assisting in creating jobs in communities. And all of these outcomes need to be tracked so that we are all holding each other accountable. And so it's a very exciting year ahead. And I think, you know, the blueprint in Alex is just incredibly exciting, not just for South Africa. So I'm very much all about the continent. You're gonna, and this is a model that's not just relevant in South Africa. It's a model that's relevant in all African countries. The other thing that I just wanted to say, you know, at the beginning is just in terms of the positioning of our townships and our rural areas. And again, it's such a privilege that the Alex Association has been driven from the ground up, because you then have the opportunity to create the tourism products that you want to create. You're not having someone else coming externally and going, oh, this is nice, this is nice, this is nice. And one of the very much missed opportunities as far as tourism after apartheid in South Africa is that we had the entire world rallying behind us for our freedom in 1990. For all people, right? And for Black people, all in all townships and all rural areas in South Africa, rallying behind us. And then when we got our freedom, we just kind of forgot about them. And then we, you know, and then everyone was coming in safari, you know, apartheid never happened and there were no Black people and there's nothing to see. And so this is actually such a missed opportunity, and something that I'm really happy to see that we now have an opportunity to start righting that wrong, and owning our own narrative and inviting the world back into South Africa and into our spaces, the townships, our villages, where all the action was happening that nobody knows about today, where all of these really great people fought for our freedom, and then we kind of just all went on with our lives, right? So very exciting opportunities, Mandy, and I think it's a privilege to be able to add value to tourism development in South Africa in such a real way.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think the beauty of it is that, you know, the main players in the value chain are, you know, in this process assisting the up and coming businesses, and that's what we'd like to drive as Satsa. But I do believe, and I think a lot of my fellow panelists believe, that it is a three-chord chain, if you will, because we do need the participation of the government to also foster an environment that enables business. And I think that, for me, and I've witnessed here in Gqeberha, you know, quite a missing link sometimes, and what it takes to link the community community, as well as private business, as well as the government, to make sure everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet and trying to achieve the same thing. I would like to ask Bra Opa to comment on that in terms of, you know, how much should township tourism businesses expect from government, and what are the key things when communicating with your local tourism officers, your local EDTA officers within the municipalities? What are the key sort of engagements that you should be, you know, the right questions to be asking, the things you should be asking for assistance when formalizing your associations and trying to get roots active in your townships and your rural areas?
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, this is quite interesting. I'm learning a lot from this interaction, and thank you guys for organizing it. Look, I've been spending a whole lot of my time trying to get local government to understand the importance of tourism. And I think the biggest challenge that we have been having is that even our local councillors that are responsible for driving tourism have really never been able to get this opportunity of going out to experience tourism. And that then gives it a little bit, you know, makes it a bit difficult for people to comprehend what you are talking about. I mean, the whole misconception in local government is that, yeah, tourism is this leisure thing for rich people, and they come here and they come and watch us and then leave, you know. So you basically have to change that entire narrative. But how you change that entire narrative is that township tourism and rural tourism needs to be driven from the ground. You know, it needs to be driven from the ground, and local government has got a very, very important role to play. And one of the things that we have been doing has been to try and start by organizing tours for the councillors and taking them around to see and teach them how the entire value chain system works. But also the most important thing has also been to try and identify potential areas that could be utilized for authentic tourism. Right now, what we are doing in Mpumalanga is that instead of building artificial cultural villages, we are going into the chief areas where they do their day-to-day activities in terms of their traditional leaders. And we are saying to them, we can convert this facility into an authentic cultural village that could have a museum, the history of those people. It can show the tools that they were using, but also around this royal crawl, we can then begin to look at establishing homestays that these tourists, when we bring them, they can then have this authentic culture of an experience of interacting with their locals in their day-to-day. So it is not staged, you know, but we're bringing this whole authentic experience for not only international visitors, even some of us as South Africans. I mean, since I started this process, it was amazing how I have learned about various cultures and things that I've taken for granted and taken, you know, that they don't mean much. And I realized how important they are. So local government becomes very, very key. And unfortunately now, the challenge that we have is that tourism and even the local economic development units in the rural municipalities are the least resourced. You know, so these are some of the things that we have to be able to teach our people and to teach the councillors and to assist these local people to organize themselves like how Alexandra is doing. It is much even better in the township than in the far rural areas. It's more difficult in the far rural areas. And that is why I'm saying that key will be for us to be able, so this process of education does not only teach our communities, but it also teaches local government on the importance of tourism. So that's the project that we are basically now embarking on, and we should be able to do as tourism organization and as Satsa. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Bra Opa. That is so important. Absolutely, to take what is already at our hands within our communities and enhance those. I mean, we in the Eastern Cape heard the other day that there might be several 100 million being spent on creating a restaurant in the rural areas where there are no roads for anybody to get there. And then you think, you know, how is the community being considered? Where are these ideas coming from? So really being driven from the grassroots is so important. Thank you so much, Bra Opa. There is some information in the chat which I'd like to highlight before our panelists give their last words. I've pasted in there the link for Zulu Nomad, where you will see there are 2 courses on offer at the moment. Please feel free to go onto the website. The link is there. And our Rob Heaton, the man in the 007 outfit there, he has also made a very generous offer to everybody that is on this chat today, which is a free 30-minute consultation. If you were here when Rob introduced himself, he has decades of experience with coaching and helping develop businesses. As Samadhi said, Rob has been instrumental in assisting Samadhi to develop his business, as well as partnering with them in their journey in growing Gatha as well. So if you would like a free 30-minute session consultation with Rob, there is a link in there in the chat. Rob, can you paste it in again, just in case it got lost in the conversation? Fantastic. Wow, this is such an amazing webinar. I wish, pardon?
Yeah, done. It's in there for everyone to see. And I've also shared Tars Homestays, which is connected to what Opa's saying. It's an awesome initiative that's been piloted in Limpopo. And Mbomachi, one of my colleagues, and I went up there with a number of other people and stayed. And it was absolutely fantastic. So I would encourage all South Africans to have that experience.
Fantastic, thank you. And there's quite a few things that we are, as Paga said, we are embarking on a Satsa Aid. And one of the things that we'll be working on soon is creating a space online where businesses such as yours can partner up with other businesses and where we will be introducing programs such as education programs and training programs and opportunities to buy into businesses. So we would like to also get your all of your emails here today. So if you can please send them through as well. I will be putting in an email address at the bottom, which is ec@satsa.co.za. And if you could kindly take that email address and send through your email addresses so that we can be sure to send you a link to when that platform is established, and you can then hear further of the other offerings from Satsa Aid. And I would like to call on Rob for any, Rob, do you have a final word, word you'd like to give?
How do you know me? I would actually like to, Hanali's managed to sort out her connection, so I've asked her to come up onto the stage here and just share a couple of words with us before I have my 5 minutes of fame. So yeah, Hanali, if you can join us, that would be awesome. See if I can get her off mute.
Okay.
There you go. We got it. Action.
You got me now?
Awesome. Welcome, Hanali.
Thank you so much. So no more buttons being pressed. Rob, leave the buttons. I'll leave my buttons. it's Murphy's Law, isn't it? Rob and I were talking on WhatsApp to say, I'm ready, I'm going to talk to you guys, and then the connection problems. But this is the new world that we live in, I suppose. So thank you very much, Rob, for sharing that. There's a lady on the webinar, Lisa Pernal. She's an influencer, and we had a lovely meeting this morning, and the sort of idea around the Gata tour and what Rob was mentioning about saying to the corporates, and this goes for any area, it's not just for Alex, but saying to corporates that you've had staff so widely spread, how do you connect as a team? You go and you get yourself outside of your normal routine, and you grow a little bit closer, learn a little bit more about South Africa, learn a little bit more about each other. So on the influencer side, Paka and I also had a very quick chat, and the hope is, and look, normally it's better to sort of do stuff and then talk about it, but it is good to get input from members around how this should work. So what we're hoping is to sort of get a little bit of a group of influencers together, different styles of influencers, food, travel, lifestyle, etc., and and have them in the different metropolitan areas, so that it's easy for us to make that link between our members and the digital and the online and social media world. So lots of exciting things happening. I just want to say thank you very much to Mandisa, Opa, Rob, Samadhi, Paul. Thank you so much, guys. It's lovely. I love the vibrance that we've started. Opa, I think you've hit the nail on the head with the local tourism, local government. We need to take the initiative. And I remember even in my TEP days, many years ago, there was always this need to educate local officers, your LED officers at ground level in any case. And that's never happened. So we have the opportunity now. Let's just do it. Let's take them on the tours. I love that. That's such a practical initiative, and it's something that we can do. So yeah, just from my side, if you guys have any ideas of how we really connect, apart from the training and the mentorship, which are great, on the market access side, how do we continue to learn from each other like this? Please speak to Mandy, Opa, Paka, myself, Rob. There's always an ear that's happy to listen. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, everybody. And please do send through your email addresses to ec@satsa.co.za, and watch out for our next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Cheers.
everyone.